we're seeing a massive division, between the left and the right, and obviously protests on the street are America. But the last question I asked you, what do you think is the solution to this problem? Or how could we move forward in the next 10 years and not see such division, such anger, such violence?
First of all, there's very little violence. There is some. So to give you an example, I don't know if it was reported in England, about a week or two ago, there was a small village in Ohio, Bethel, Ohio, if you want to look it up, a village of about 2,000 people. A couple of dozen young people decided to have a completely nonviolent demonstration where they expressed support for Black Lives Matter. But the village was attacked by 700 or 800 angry militia types with guns and baseball bats to try to smash the place up and prevent this from happening. The town has about half a dozen policemen. They couldn't do anything. You do get that kind of violence, which is dangerous. Armed militias are very significant. I want to take a look at some statistics. When Donald Trump came in 2016, there were careful, close analyses of terrorism and terrorist-related threats. Not very high in the United States, but it's there. 2016, about 20% of them were white supremacists. Today, almost 100% are white supremacists. That's 4 years of tweets and hints and stimulation of white supremacist violence from the White House. Okay, made a difference. So yes, that's there. But if you look at the demonstrations in the streets, overwhelmingly nonviolent. There's a fringe of looting and violence. We often don't know who's responsible, but overwhelmingly not. And the organizers, black organizers, mostly try to damp it down because they know it's just a gift to the right. Yeah, they don't want it. And they're aiming at very crucial issues, not just police violence, which is serious, but not just that. And of course, the police violence itself takes place in the context of a very violent society. Killings by guns are way beyond any comparable country. Police violence is not coming out of nowhere. It's part of that. But there's beginning to look at the roots of the whole business. Remember, we're looking at a society which has had 400 years of vicious repression, virtually unremitting, to the present, leaving a very bitter legacy. There's a lot to unravel. And interestingly, it's arousing comparable concerns in other countries. So Britain has a hideous record of horrifying atrocities all over the world. Go back to Adam Smith, who was condemning the savage injustice of the Europeans, particularly the British in India, who were turning drought into famine by their vicious actions. Well, that wasn't taught in British schools. Barely beginning to look at today. Same in France. So this awakening to looking at what our wealth is based on, what our privilege is based on, who's been suffering, that's important. It's important to know when you have a cell phone in your hand, as everybody does, to ask why it's cheap. Well, it's a couple of reasons. One of them is virtual slave labor run by Apple and its subsidiaries in China, of which China doesn't make much profit, but Apple does, and Foxconn does. That's one reason. Another reason is because the worst atrocities in the world are taking place in eastern Congo, where the minerals are. Millions of people are being killed. Militias are slaughtering and so on. In the background, there are multinationals hovering to get cheap minerals from the militias that are slaughtering people. That gets into your cell phone. It's important to think about things like this. It's all over. We don't think about it much, but we should. And what these demonstrations are showing is that that kind of consciousness is developing. It's belated, it's not enough, but it's important.